Now, before we get into our review of Mortal Kombat, the series finale of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier debuted this past weekend on Disney+. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the show, Sam Wilson, a.k.a. The Falcon, and Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. The Winter Soldier, combat a violent extremist group whose members are infused with the super soldier serum, comparable to that of Captain America's. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do our non-spoiler review first, and then we're going to do our spoiler review after that. So when we get into the spoiler review, you will get a 5-second countdown. If you don't listen to that and you get yourself spoiled, can't say we didn't warn you. So, Darius, overall, in a non-spoiler fashion, what exactly did you think of this series as a whole?
I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I think it definitely had a slow pace in the beginning. There are scenes and even some character interactions that did grab me. But overall, in the beginning, I was a bit, okay, I like it. Not too bad so far. Overall, I think my favorite episode was probably the second to last one, if not the third to last one. I enjoyed the finale a lot. I think, overall, as a series, I thought it was pretty solid. I liked it. I didn't love it. Had a good time. I was entertained. I laughed, that sort of thing. But I think as far as some of the narrative choices they made and even some of the scenes they created did seem out of place and really didn't fit in the world that they were trying to craft, but yet they're trying not to be on the nose with certain things. And that's when it kind of felt a bit unbalanced at certain points in the series. But like I said, overall, I enjoyed it, had a good time. So that's really much, without getting into spoilers, much I can say.
Yeah. Overall, like I said, I did enjoy the show a lot. I had a great time watching it. There are certain political narratives that it tries to touch that it did feel a bit preachy about, but it was not, in my opinion, it wasn't an issue enough to come even close to ruining the show. However, there is one overall theme that at least I took away from this, and it was, of course, Anthony Mackie plays Sam Wilson, and one of the themes basically seems to revolve around looking at someone as a man who happens to be black as opposed to looking at someone as a black man, and I thought that theme overall was amazing. There's one exchange, and this really isn't a spoiler too, where Sam Wilson goes down to Baltimore, and he's talking with, a kid that's down there, and the kid goes and he's like, "You're the Black Falcon." He's just like, "No, I'm just the Falcon." He's just like, "What?" I'm kind of butchering this a little bit. He's just like, "What does that make you? The black kid or just the kid?" And just how he handled that, I thought that was hysterical. I'm like, that's fucking perfect. I love him. But coming from a character perspective too, starting with Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, I thought individually they had so much going for them. They have a lot to prove to themselves, and even when they come together, they're not natural allies. But I just felt like overall that dynamic, that kind of foil relationship that the two of them had, and just how they bounce off of each other too, why exactly they clash with each other, I just thought that was done really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big standout really is Anthony Mackie and, Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, that dynamic, it's almost that bromance, brotherhood sort of deal, and I really enjoyed. There were elements when I actually felt more, and I liked Winter Soldier's character and his character arc more than Sam's at certain points. Absolutely. Mainly because he's just had a lot more going for him, considering that he was manipulated, he was used as a weapon, and now he's trying to almost get free of that, and he's still not free of that. So I thoroughly enjoyed that a lot, especially Bucky's character arc and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they weren't bad characters in the movies before the show came out. But, they definitely showed potential, and I think as far as their character development, they met that potential in the show alone. And keeping with the character discussion, of course you have John Walker, Zemo, and Sharon Carter, and what they did with those, and without going into spoilers too much, what they did with those three characters in particular, I thought they did very, very well, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even John Walker, at first I was like, oh, I don't like this guy. But then later on, I still didn't like him, but I appreciated what they were going for and what they were doing with that character towards the end. And same thing with Zemo. Zemo, every time he's on the screen, he always steals it for me. Daniel Bruhl just knocks it out of the park as him. Sharon Carter.
Terrific actor.
Woo! holy boy, especially when we get into spoilers. She was also good too.
So now, before we get into spoilers, how do you think this show compares to WandaVision? Do you think it's better or worse?
I don't think it's worse or better. I think they're both, like, Falcon and Winter Soldier remind me of Winter Soldier. And I appreciate that a lot, because Winter Soldier is one of my favorite MCU movies. And so with that, and I still love WandaVision too. I love what they were going for with her, and I like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I wouldn't necessarily one is better than the other, but I will say that I think WandaVision had a bit more of a, like, almost more WTF moments for me that engrossed me even more. Whereas Falcon and Winter Soldier, one of the biggest things and what I love are some of the fight choreography, the fight scenes, and even it still has WTF moments, like when John Walker does a certain something. But I thought it was really, again, they both stand out on their own for sure, and I think they're strong additions to the MCU now and going forward, especially after the recent announcement.
Yeah. Now, if I had, honestly, this is a question that I was juggling with for a little while, like which show, I thought was better. If I have to pick one, I honestly have to go with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And because even though the build-up to the payoff in WandaVision felt more original, and it definitely like wasn't as predictable in any way, shape, or form, I felt like the payoff for WandaVision wasn't that great. Whereas with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the build-up was still, solid, and the payoff was terrific. And I just felt like I got more out of what they did with the characters. As much as I appreciated what they were going for with Scarlet Witch and how WandaVision is basically like a personification of her grief, Falcon and it still didn't overall, like, just again, like it didn't have that lasting impact.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as far as like how everything wraps up, as far as like what I got from these two main characters, it just carried more weight in my mind. So if I had to choose between the two, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I think from that perspective, as far as setup and payoff and what they're going for, I think Falcon Winter Soldier is definitely much stronger, mainly because this show is revolving around Sam Wilson trying to understand what it means and what that Captain America shield really symbolizes and what that means, and how him, as his own character, not necessarily needs to step up to that, but also needs to understand the flaws of that shield as well. And we'll get into that spoilers as well. So,
yeah. So, all right. So now, again, speaking of spoilers, we're going to get into our spoiler section of this review, coming down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you want to fast forward around 5-10 minutes, go right ahead.
The Captain America shield's been tainted. Oh, when he decapitated or John Walker bloodied that dude, I was like, oh my god.
That final image in that episode, I want to say it's the 4th episode. It's that low-angle shot. John Walker was holding the bloody Captain America shield. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That was
And it's
great.
funny because I love that image because it reminds me of Civil War when Steve Rogers does that to Iron Man. But here's the thing, and this shows the two drastic changes, or like how different these characters are, and how John Walker, he's really never meant to be Captain America. We can see that. But like just how when John Walker does it, he's more of a soldier. He's like, I'm just gonna kill you, right? And he was furious after his partner, Battlestar Phil Lamar, died. He was killed. And not only that, but when you see that and we watch Civil War, Steve Rogers, very similar, but he doesn't go for that final blow on Tony Stark. He doesn't kill him. He just takes out his arc reactor so he can't use it. And it just shows how different these characters are and how, at the same time, John Walker doesn't understand the shield fully and what it means to be Captain America, where Sam Wilson, he definitely does, especially in that finale, in that speech he gave, that I felt was very powerful and was very like, and I've seen a lot of people say, oh, it was preachy or anything like that, but it's like, that's not the point. He, not only that, but he's really talking to the other black the black super soldier that nobody knew about, to me, when I saw that, it really felt like he was talking to him. And he was like, I'm going to be Captain America, and it's like, take it or leave it. I know people are going to hate it, but it's like, deal with it. And that reminded me so much of Steve Rogers and his against oppression, and how he was against the government. Everything happened with Winter Soldier Civil War. And I just thought that, Steve Rogers, he chose Sam Wilson for a reason, and this is why. And when I saw that new Captain America suit, I was like, yeah, I'm down for this.
Yeah, I'm like, yep, that's exactly. This feels right. Touching a bit on what you were saying about John Walker, overall, I did feel like that he had a terrific arc from just being a kind of suspect Captain America at first, to him losing his moral compass basically when his friend Lamar gets killed, and to, I guess, kind of pretty much redeeming himself in the end. So I thought what they did with him was great, and going back to Sam Wilson basically stepping up as Captain America, I fucking love that idea. Love him stepping into the role of Captain America, and I loved how, despite Sam being uncomfortable with America's past, he still believes in fighting for the country, and I think there's just something very admirable in that. And, it's funny, too, because, I remember there were a lot of questions when it came to the idea of Sam Wilson becoming Captain America, because he didn't have, he's not a super soldier. He didn't have the super soldier serum. So I'm curious as far as, what you think of that. Do you think that's, an issue? Do you think it's good to try something different?
I don't think that's an issue at all, because, honestly, that scene reminded me of Captain America First Avenger, where he was chosen where Steve Rogers was chosen for the super soldier because of his heart and what he truly believed in. And that scene reminded me of that. And it's like, super soldier, super serum or not. I mean, look at John Walker. He felt like he needed the super soldier serum because he ended up taking it to be Captain America. But he still didn't understand it, and he still lost it. I mean, hell, the government literally stripped that right away from him. Was like, yeah, you're not Cap anymore. You're done. You messed up. And even John Walker trying to say he is Captain America. But again, this is why I really enjoy John Walker as a character. Is he moved past from that now. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm fine with I'll be something else, and he'll be the U.S. agent, that sort of thing. And so I think Sam Wilson as Captain America is a solid choice. It's something that I think they were obviously going for, even in the beginning in Age of Ultron, really that dynamic you see. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it should be Bucky, and it's like, okay, as the comic fan, you probably do want Bucky, but as the narrative that they're building, even from the previous movies, it definitely looked and felt like Sam Wilson will be the next Captain America. Not Black Captain America, but Captain America.
Captain America, yep. And I love that, too. And it's funny because, as far as, Sam Wilson not being a super soldier, right, because, I think this builds into a larger point, too, where I guess it's, as far as, what Captain America is supposed to represent, it's not supposed to represent the superpower, it's supposed to represent the heart, and basically, of basically just fighting for the country and just standing up for what's good and righteous, and you don't need a super soldier serum in order to do that. And again, Sam fits that model perfectly.
Exactly.
So again, I'm very happy with what they did with his character. Like I said before in the non-spoiler section, how his character as well as Bucky's had potential. They reached that potential with him stepping into this particular role. So I'm very happy with what they did with them. How do you feel about how they wrapped up Bucky's story?
I mean, I like it. It's just I'm curious as to what he's going to go by now. Is it going to be Winter Soldier? Will it be White Wolf? I'm curious to see Bucky going forward. I don't think it necessarily wrapped him up. I think it did in a sense of where his mental state was and the psychological effects he was having. But as far as, I guess, as a character in the next step, because Falcon, he's not Falcon anymore. He's Captain America now. Where's Bucky? Yep. I think he's Bucky, but not necessarily nothing else just yet. And I think the next thing, what's going to happen, is that he's going to redefine himself now. I think he might go by the code name White Wolf at this point, because the Wakandans are calling him that, so why not? So, it's going to be interesting for Bucky going forward. But overall, like I said, this series, I really enjoyed it. Sam Wilson is Captain America. Deal with it or not. Captain America 4, I'm all for it.
Yep. I'm really looking forward to it again. I think he's a great successor to what Steve Rogers built. So I'm very happy with what they're doing with him. And now, just out of curiosity, guys, what did you think of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Was it worth following it for the last 6 weeks? Leave your thoughts in the comment section there below.
It was for me.
Now,